Whenever I stay out past 1 a.m., I can only sleep for 3 hours. Whenever I have a night of good sleep, I have 2 nights of bad sleep. Whenever I go to bed and I have work the next day, it takes me 3 hours to fall asleep. Whenever this thing happens, my sleep does this. If you have insomnia, there's a good chance that you've discovered a pattern, like the ones I just gave. It's very tempting to respect them and give them legitimacy. Kind of like respecting the pattern that tomorrow morning, surely the sun will rise. Insomnia patterns, however, aren't nearly as legitimate as they may seem. What usually happens is that they act as self-fulfilling prophecies in the sense that our hyperarousal gets exceptionally ramped up. It's the same thing as drinking a few sips of coffee at 5 o'clock in the evening. Now, realistically speaking, it's not going to do anything, but if you're dealing with insomnia, it's going to give you fear and doubt that this thing is what's going to make you lose sleep. It's what's going to keep you up at night. When really the thing that's actually going to keep you awake is the hyperarousal. And if you've noticed any of these patterns during your own struggles with insomnia, I'd be super interested to hear about them. Please drop a comment below. What happens when clients start to overcome insomnia is that they notice that over time, these patterns become more and more violated in the good direction. To borrow from my own insomnia struggles, when I was in the thick of it, I was afraid of accidentally looking at a bright light before bed, thinking that it was going to make me too stimulated. The reason that pattern was there in the first place was because there are nights when I just so happened to look at a bright light a few minutes before bed, and I had a difficult night sleeping. And so that was me putting two and two together, saying, oh hey, I also now need to avoid bright lights before going to bed to preserve my already extremely fragile sleep system. And as more time went on and I started to develop a healthier and healthier relationship with sleep, this sort of pattern sort of faded out on its own. I noticed that there were times I would look at plenty of bright lights before bed, way more than usual, and it didn't seem to interfere with my sleep. If you're an ambitious man with insomnia, I've got the only insomnia program that you will ever need. The Path to Peace program. Whether you're trying to excel in your career, athletics, or dating and you find that insomnia keeps getting in your way, I've got your back. We've got a curated video curriculum, a dedicated Slack channel, group coaching sessions twice a week. And if you're an ambitious woman and you're interested, don't worry, this program works great for everyone. Click on the link below and we'll get you started on the Path to Peace. Welcome back. I want to bring up how before our insomnia started, we most likely didn't have these patterns, generally speaking, and certainly not to such a strong degree. Maybe some of you would say something like, well, throughout my whole life, when I go to pee at around 2 in the morning, it always takes me half an hour or so to get back to sleep. Maybe that's the case, but that's pretty mild compared to what people suffering from insomnia have to deal with. When we're talking about insomnia, people tend to find patterns often and they tend to change, and we put a lot of importance on them. We start to try to derive meaning out of them. So for example, if you had a pattern where your insomnia really flares up on Sunday night, then you might think, oh, my insomnia is caused by work-related stress. So whenever anything stressful happens at work, it's going to hurt my sleep. So if I want to sleep well, I need to take it easy at work, or even maybe potentially change my career. As you can imagine, it's not uncommon to really dig deep into these rabbit holes and be tempted to make these drastic life changes that we aren't really interested in anyway. Even though I've been over insomnia for about 1.5 years now, I was tempted to investigate a little pattern that my mind had noticed. About 2 to 3 months ago, I went through a span of maybe 2 weeks where I was getting 6 to 6.5 hours of sleep a night. Not bad by any means. It's much better than what I used to go through when I had insomnia. But these days I usually get around 7.5 hours or so of sleep. I wasn't doing anything different, just for whatever reason I started waking up a little bit earlier. And because of my long experience with insomnia, I had some familiar anxieties ramp up in the back of my head a little bit. What if my body is broken? Or how do I fix or manage this to get back to the 7.5 hours of sleep that I was getting? But I told myself this time that there probably really wasn't that much to this. I mean, sure, maybe I could start trying to investigate each and every single thing I could possibly be doing differently. Maybe I started eating 1 extra piece of fruit a day, and that sugar was keeping me awake, or that I was working a little too hard just a little too late in the evening. Now, you can see I was tempted to fall into a little bit of a pattern investigation here. It's easy to see how I could let this spiral. What I did was I just chalked it up to some weird temporary thing that was outside of my control to begin with, and so I decided to just let it be. And sure enough, my sleep soon went back to 7.5 hours of good quality restorative sleep. Regardless of what our pattern is, we don't have to do anything differently for each and every single pattern that might pop up. Our approach to any given pattern is going to be the same. Improve our relationship with sleep. And if you're not sure how to do that, I've got a great video that I'll link here that's been helpful for a lot of people that goes over it. I hope this was helpful for some of you. If it was, please feel free to do the usual like, comment, subscribe stuff. Here at Insomnia to Peace, I provide coaching services for men looking to overcome insomnia for good.